Hello, border collie geeks, and welcome to a new episode. I'm recording this episode, and finally, it feels like summer in the UK, and that's why I decided to record an episode about holidays. Although holidays don't happen only in summer, the majority of you will be going for some sort of holidays, between July, September, and then, of course, this can be useful anytime you need to go on holiday with your dogs. So I decided to give you my experience on going on holidays with the dogs, pretty much in the UK. So I'm going to make a UK specific one, but I'm going to also talk a bit about the rest, Europe, or how to get out of the UK into Europe. I've done a bit of traveling between Italy and the UK, so I'll give you my advice and where to look for information. I would love to invite someone from the US because we have a big US community, or from Canada, that would like to do an episode talking about how to go on holiday with your dogs in the US. So if any of you is a traveler, likes to travel, I actually have a couple of people in mind already, then it would be great to do an episode eventually for my US listeners. And if there's any topic that is specific to your country that you would like to cover, please get in touch, because I would like to actually give more advice to owners across the world, and not just, of course, related to things that I personally experience with my own dogs. So let's start. First thing that is very important is how to find a place to go on holiday with your dogs. If you have one dog, that's not too difficult. Websites like Airbnb or booking.com or cottages.com or site cottages, all these websites will give you the option to select dog-friendly accommodation. And if you have 1 to 2 dogs, that's not too difficult. The majority, maybe not the majority, maybe 50% of hosts will get your dog, will get a booking, will allow your dogs in to the accommodation. The thing you have to check when you book, and send a message and ask if there's not specifically said on the description, is whether your dogs are allowed upstairs or not. Because a lot of the time, so we booked a cottage, for example, in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, and it was a beautiful cottage in the middle of nowhere with a big garden around, and it was on Airbnb. We had a great history, of course, of recommendation, reviewers on Airbnb. If you use Airbnb a lot, host will actually then leave a review after your stay. And if you have a lot of dogs, like we were going on holiday with 4 or 5 dogs, 6 dogs, is actually quite useful, because then other hosts, when they have to take your reservation, can look at your history and see that you're actually a good guest. So they will allow you to book an holiday. But sometimes, sorry, I'm drinking something. I have a bit of allergy, so I need to cough every now and then. But sometimes the host doesn't describe exactly how the accommodation works. So you have to ask exactly pictures, if they're not there, or description of how the garden is. Sometimes they don't say, yes, they say the secure garden, but secure garden for someone might not secure for you. If you have dogs that likes to jump, if they have dogs that likes to climb, if you have little dogs that might go on the fences. So make sure when you book from websites, you can talk directly, especially Airbnb, you can talk directly to the host. On the other website, send a message anyway. Make sure that you find out if the fence is secure enough for your dog, not a general secure enough fence, and then ask what are the rules of the house, because sometimes, so we got to this accommodation in Aberdeenshire, and the garden was okay-ish, but I didn't trust moss completely off lead, because there was livestock around, and the fence behind the house wasn't a fence, was just a or maybe it was Tay. I can't remember who he wasn't allowed at that time, a few years ago. Maybe it was Tay because he was still a puppy. I don't remember. But yeah, if you have, there was like a wall. It was like a wall, a dry stone wall onto a little woodland, and an agile dog could have climbed that and go out and just go wander in the woodland with the road on the other side. So we had to keep an eye on the dogs. I wasn't 100% always happy to be in the house and have the dogs outside, because I knew it wasn't 100% secure. Secure for most dogs, but not for dogs that really want to jump and chase something. Even, there were squirrels, I think, around, or birds and stuff like that. So make sure that you ask. Now, the second thing is ask, because, about house rules. So we found out that the dogs, when we got there, the dogs couldn't go upstairs. And for some dogs, it's not an issue. So my younger dogs are all very much used to sleep downstairs. But my old dog, Moss, for example, he does struggle to be away from me. In the evening, during the day, he's completely fine. But in the evening, his routine, now that he's old, is to sleep in the same room as I sleep. And having him in another room means that he doesn't settle. It takes him ages to settle. He doesn't understand why he's not with me in the evening. So that is a problem for me. So ask exactly. And then there are some guests that don't allow dogs on furniture. So if your dog's at home is used to get on your bed or on your sofa, then you need to know in advance if your dog is allowed in the place. Sometimes they ask you to bring your own blankets to cover sofas or beds, which is fine, but sometimes they ask you not to have the dogs on the furnitures, and that of course can be a problem for some dogs because they're used to being on furnitures, and then suddenly you go on holiday, which should be nice and relaxing, and they're not allowed. So make sure you ask. Now, there is a great resource to find very, very dog-friendly accommodations, especially if you have more than 2 dogs. And is a group, if it's a Facebook group that is called Really, Really Multi-Dog Friendly Holidays for Dogaholics. That group, only multiple dogs allowed holiday cottages are allowed to publish. So the ones that make a limit, I think, of 1 or 2 are not allowed. So if you have more dogs, or if you want an accommodation that is super dog friendly, so will allow the majority of the accommodation there have, and they will specify, that's the rule of the group, they will specify how the fence is, they will specify how how the garden is, and exactly what are the rules of the house, and the majority of them will allow dogs on furniture, with some of them with the rule of bring your own blankets. So I really suggest this group, Really, Really Multi-Dog Friendly Holidays for Dogaholics, and you will find your, hopefully, your holiday accommodation. Now, when you're choosing where to go on holiday in the UK, you have to keep in consideration a few things. In summer, a lot of the nice beaches are not dogs allowed. So you need to check before you actually book somewhere, if your goal is to go on holiday and take your dog on the beach. A lot of beaches don't allow dogs on because they, especially during school holidays, so there is a restriction for summer. And that's the same in pretty much everywhere in Europe. Places like Italy, for example, where I'm from, a lot of the places don't allow dogs. There are specific dog-friendly beaches where they have their own section, which means that all the dogs are going to be in the same section, which is not very relaxing for a lot of dogs and owners. So check. There is, I think, a website which I couldn't find. I forgot actually to find, which is one where you can select the county and then what is the name of the beach and all the restrictions. So they'll tell you what time of the year dogs are allowed on and what time of the year they're not. Taking a dog to the beach, since it's summer, and some of you will, I would like to just give a few tips, and that's for everyone in the world that is listening, about taking your dog to the beach, because you might be a new dog owner, border collie owner, and you want to take your dog to the beach, and you might have a question or you might not know. A few tips just to make your beach trip a positive one. So all my young dogs, pretty much all my young dogs, all the dogs that I had in the last few years that I was in the UK and I could reach a beach quite easily, because where I was in Italy wasn't that easy. And what I mean is nice, huge beaches where the dogs can run because the tide goes back and everything. So dogs run, 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 run. I've had the same issues, and I want to tell you in advance, just in case you're planning to take them now that the weather is nice. I want you to either be aware of it or decide whether it's the case of going or not going. All my dogs, the first time they go to the beach, they will end up drinking salt water. So you go to the beach and you might not even think about bringing normal water with you. So dogs run around, it's quite warm. They might play with a toy, which means that their mouth gets full of sand, and they then need to drink. And if you didn't bring fresh water, they will try and drink salt water. And some dogs will taste it and make like, I don't like this, I'm not going to touch it again. Other dogs are like, no, I'm thirsty and it's still water, although it's salty. They don't realize that actually it's not going to make them feel better. The problem with drinking salt water is that even in small quantities for some dogs can cause two big issues, which is vomiting and diarrhea. In big quantities can be fatal. So, of course, if you have a dog that obsessively, and that's, of course, a Border Collie thing, unfortunately. So Kite has not been to the beach yet, and he's not been to the beach yet because, although I'm sure that he will go and run around with the others while the others run around, I'm not 100% sure what he would do by when we reach the water. And if he does the same thing that he does in the river and everywhere else, which is mouth in the water, obsessively splashing it and biting it, make 100% sure, I know 100% he's going to have diarrhea and vomiting. And the problem is that it's not always something that you can, train out of the dog. If you follow me on social media, you would have seen, and actually I might make an episode about this. I want to make an episode about OCD behaviors, and I have the guest. I just need to, repetitive behaviors in Border Collies. I will make an effort to record it as soon as possible. But some behaviors are management and not completely train them out. Now, I can call him away from water anytime I want, but if I go specifically to the seaside to take my dogs into the sea, I don't know how he's going to react. So if I do it the first time I do it, I make sure that I have the option to either take him away or go home again quickly, because I don't want him to ingest big quantities of salt water, because as I said, it can be very dangerous. If your dog swims, not a problem. When you play, like fetch in the water with toys, be very careful again that they don't drink too much, because if they might not want to swallow the salt water, but if they're carrying a bowl in their mouth, then the water will go in no matter what. So they will ingest a lot of water, and you might get diarrhea anytime from when they leave the water to when they get to the car to when you're driving home. We've had this multiple times with one of our toddlers. The first time we took her to the beach when she was a puppy, she didn't only swallow a lot of salt water, but she also ate a lot of sand. So she was very uncomfortable, and she had an intestine full of sand because she was playing with the toys and she was swallowing a lot of sand. So I would definitely avoid tennis balls personally. A lot of people go to the beach and play with tennis balls. I will, if you need to bring a ball to play with your dog, bring some plastic things that are not concentrating all the sand on it and the dog can keep swallowing it, because it can actually create problems. It could actually block the intestine. So there's a lot of there's a lot of dogs on the beach that have no issues, but we're talking about Border Collies, and some of them can get into trouble. So make sure that you are prepared for this. So if you take your dog to the beach, bring water with you, bring a toy that is not that doesn't have a lot of sand attached to it, and make sure that if your dog ends up drinking a bit of salt water, you are aware of it, and you maybe walk them for a bit before taking them back to the car to make sure that they will empty themselves before starting your drive home. The other thing we had with Tanith, which is the girl that is here with me now in the room, if you hear a dog moving around, she didn't drink salt water. She doesn't drink salt water. She's clever. But then we went back to the car and she was very thirsty and she drank a lot of water, and then she had to get it all out because it was too much in her stomach. And so again, we ended up with the dog vomiting in the crate on the way home. So this is dogs. The nice way of, nice thing about having dogs. No, but it happens, especially if you're not prepared for it. So go to the beach for holidays, but be careful. Go to the mountains, Scotland, Wales, in England. Go to the mountains, and the only thing you really need to be aware, apart from the usual, that your dog doesn't chase, things shouldn't chase and everything, is others. There are not many in the UK, and I am not too worried about it, but some dogs get bitten every year, and humans, I think, believe so. Another bite can still be fatal if not treated, or if the dog is small, or if the dog is old, or if the dog is ill, or if they catch the dog in a specific, place where the venom will spread much easier. So be careful for if the area you're walking, it's another conservation area, and there's a lot of others. Just make sure that your dog doesn't go too much into bushes and everything. Keep your dog close to you so you can see where the dog is walking. Don't let them roam too far. And you could, and we'll talk about that in a second, also get another pack, which is someone put it together, that has all the information you need to know and all the first aid help if your dog gets bitten. And one of the things that actually put it down in my list, but I'm going to tell you now, if you're going on holiday, make sure you have in your phone already the number and the address of a vet that is local to you, because you never know, you're going to need it quickly, especially if something like this happens. If your dog gets injured very seriously, you might want to call the vet on the way and tell them you're coming there, so they're getting prepared for it. And they might even say to you, "Oh, I don't have anything to help you. Can you call the other vets?" Because they do. So they might even, send you somewhere else, or they might be closed that day and things like that. So make sure that when you go on holiday, you're prepared with the number of a vet, especially if you're going in an area where you might have, situation like possible other bite. Although it's not that serious in the UK. In Italy, we have all sorts of, venomous snakes, and more than in the UK, and I've never had issues with my dogs. I've seen them on walks, and I panicked, put my dogs back on a lead and carried on, being very careful, knowing exactly where to find them. It's important. Normally in summer they bask during the day somewhere on rocks to soak the sun in. So in Italy, when we go rock walking, not climbing, but on walks where there's a lot of rocks, I normally keep dogs very close to me. Now, before we talk about what to bring, which is for everyone, we talked about where to find accommodation. You can also, of course, go camping, and be aware that there are some limiting in number of dogs you can take to some campsites. If you type camping with your dogs, you'll find camping and caravanning campsite that has all the dog friendly sites on then, and you can check what is the limit of dogs for each camp, for each tent. When you're going on a holiday, when you're going camping with your dogs, if you're taking a tent, or if you're taking your caravan or your van, converted van, a great thing that I never used it because I never camped that much, but I used to do agility shows, and one great thing is that you can actually bring with you some sort of fencing, so you can create a garden around your tent or around your caravan or around your camper van, so that the dog has some freedom. You could also buy one of those screw in the ground posts, so you can attach a long line to your dog, and the dog has some freedom, so you're not worried about the dog getting away or running off as soon as you open the tent or anything. But the best thing is the windscreen. There are different brands of windscreen that you can put all the way around as a garden. Some of them have also things to secure them to the ground so the dogs cannot go under. Some of them are proper. They have a proper frame, metal frame, so that the dogs can go under them. They're quite stiff. You could also, if your dog is not an escape artist, you can also get a puppy pen panels, although they are a bit, maybe, I don't know, maybe heavier to bring around with you. But, you know, it's, if you're planning a holiday and you're not moving every single day, which can become a bit labor intensive, then having some kind of fencing around the garden, around the tent or around the caravan is a good way to enjoy your holiday with your dogs, because they have some sort of private garden where they can chill, and you can too. Now, let's talk what to bring. It's a long list that I still might be missing something. But, so, first thing is, let's get out of the way the fun stuff. So I always have a training bag with me, because when I go on holiday, I do still do a bit of training with the dogs. And actually, when you change the environment, is a great way to put some training into the things that you've trained at home and in your normal walks in a new environment. So my training kit consists of my dog's training toys. And this is where I want to remind you all that you will find a link in the show notes of what are my 3 favorite dog training toys, which are the 3 toys from Tag Enough. And I'm just going to very quickly go and get the list of the names, because I'm very bad with memory. So you will find a link that discounts my 3 favorite toys into a bundle. So you can get them all 3, and you can take them with you on holiday. Tag Enough are very quick at dispatching, so if you're going on holiday soon, you're still in time. And you can take with you the 3 favorite toys, which are the sheepskin bungee chaser, the fantastic Powerball bungee tug, and the bright fantastic tug. I'm not going to tell you all why these are my 3, because you can go back and listen to the play episode, which is a couple of episodes ago, where I explain exactly how I use them. And you know what? When you go on holiday and you're changing the environment and you are going to a new place, I always like to have a new toy, at least, with me, because I get there, I let the dogs off, or in the new garden of the cottage, or I get them out of the car halfway through the journey. And especially if I have a young dog, especially if I have a dog that needs to build confidence, or if I'm building on focus and engagement, I get into a new environment the dog has never been, and I get my new toy out. And for the dog, that is wow, it's amazing. They see the new toy, and you can see my dogs, I can always see my dogs, their face just bright up, and they go like, wow, this is a new toy, I've never seen it before. And you make that training session even more fun. And if you have more than one new toy on your new holiday, then the next time you go somewhere, you get another new toy out, and you make that experience of training in a new environment and playing with you in a new environment actually amazing for your dog. Dog likes novelty. Don't forget this. I have students sometimes that come to me with toys that I can see they are 10 years old. And I was like, when is the last time you bought a new toy to your dog? Oh, they have this, they like it. Dogs like novelties. They like novelties exactly like us, so make sure that you give them that novelty. If that is, both in toys and treats, they need to get variety and they need to get novelty in order to have that kind of boost of motivation and wanting to work with you. So again, check in the show notes the link to get the bundle if you want to get some new toys for your holidays. I bring my dog, so let's go back to the list. I bring my dog bowls, both water and food bowl, and then a travel one as well, an extra one or a travel one, so that I have one to take with me when you go for hikes or we go to the beach and everything. Some accommodation will give you water bowls for the dogs, some won't. So yeah, make sure that you bring your water bowl as well. Now, I bring my dog's food amount plus a couple of days. And you know what has happened more than once? So you go on holiday with 5 to 6 dogs, like we used to do. Yes, we went on holiday with 6 dogs. So normally when we go on holiday with 6 dogs, we have a bin, like one of those big 15 kilos bin full of all the different bags because my dogs eat different things. We have 1, 2, at the moment we have 4 with the puppy, but normally we have 3 different food. That remind me that I need to order dog food because it's running out. And because you're not in your usual habit where you have your food put away somewhere safe, it's happened more than once that the food was left unattended because you forget, you don't have that muscle memory that puts the food away in a secure place, and one of the dogs gets to it and eat half of it. It has happened to more than one person. I know. It's happened to me. It will happen to you. So bring more food that you need, even if it means putting the extra food in a different bag that you don't use, so it's safe away, just in case, especially if your dog is on a special diet. Because then, I think it was Hester or Tay, they ate Moss's food, and Moss is on a special diet, and is a diet that you can't find in normal shops. So I would have had to create a diet for him, especially for those days. Thankfully, Moss doesn't eat a lot, so they didn't eat enough. And I did add a bit of another food just for a few days. It wasn't a big deal for a few days, but for some dogs, it could be a big deal. So bring extra food, especially if you have a food stealer. Bring some treats. But again, you could also buy some fresh food like chicken and cheese. And if you don't normally use it, have it as an extra new kind of novelty treat for your dogs on a holiday, different environment, give them something different. That's great as well. Bring your dog beds. We tend to bring some beds and also vet beds that we spread around, because you never know the flooring on the property you rent. You can have a look at it, but you don't know until you get there. And even the best dog-friendly accommodation might have a slippery floor. So we bring vet beds and we just spread big vet beds everywhere, in the living area where the dogs are going to spend most of their time. Actually, I forgot to put something in here. We also bring with us all the time a radio, a plug-in radio, because we have one of our dogs is noise sensitive, and sometimes you get radios and TVs in the place you go to, but sometimes you don't. So actually having a radio, if you have a noise sensitive dog, if you can, or if you have to leave your dogs in the property, you want to put them in a room with the music on so they can't hear. If that's what you normally do, that's what we normally do. They can't hear what's going on around, and because they're in a new place, there's going to be new noises around. It just helps them settle. So don't forget to bring a radio with you, because we forgot a couple of times and we had to use a computer or an iPad just to leave music in the background for her. Of course, bring a crate if the accommodation requires it, and this is where you need to ask. Some accommodation requires you to leave the dog in a property only in a crate. Something to ask before you book, actually, if your dog is not happy in a crate. I normally have all sorts of long lines, at least a spare lead and a spare collar and a spare harness, and just in case they break or something else. I also use hiking belts and bungee leads when I go on holiday, because I don't like to hold my dog's lead, and if they are in a situation where they can't be off lead, I prefer to walk them on a bungee that is attached to my belt, proper hiking belt. So my favorite brand is Non-Stop Dog Gear. They have the proper walking, hiking belt and bungee and everything, and yeah, they are my favorite brand. Harnesses are well made and everything is well made. So what to bring in case of emergency? What would you need? Emergency, I mean, we have a bag, like a kit with everything that we might need, and we don't always need it, but we might. So we take wipes, because if your dog rolls in something disgusting and you don't have water, like running water, when you're out and about, having some nice wipes to wipe them out wipe them off, not wipe them out. Wipe them off, the whatever they rolled in. It's always good. Bring a dog shampoo if you don't have to bring the whole bottle, but bring some, because again, if they roll in something disgusting, you want to be able to wash them. It's not the end of the world if you wash them once with your own shampoo, but if you have dog shampoo, bring it with you, even some dry shampoo. Bring some disinfectant if they cut themselves or do something, so that can be in wipes or in spray, for example, like Lucilin. We use also ivy scrub, and so we normally bring ivy scrub with us. A tick remover or two, because we tend to always lose one. Some bandages, like vet wrap, or and some, some other things to do bandages with. If you buy a first aid kit for dogs, you will probably have them in already. I do take also antihistamine. I mean, I'm allergic. I always have antihistamine for me, but, I make sure I have for the dogs as well. And then I always bring with me, after one holiday, that was, I think, in Aberdeenshire, where we took the dogs for a first beach walk in 2 groups, because we have, 6 dogs. We take them in 2 groups, so it's easier. So 3 wait in the van and 3 come out. We took Tanith and Jock, and they loved it. They ran on and off, the rocks and pools and everything. They had a lot of fun. We put them back in the car, and then we opened the car to get them out, and they were both lame. And we looked at their feet, and they have cut their pads completely with, the word now fail my brain, which are the little shells that attach to rocks that have an edge that is very, very sharp. Anyway, you know what I mean. But it can happen with, a rock. It can happen with the glass. They might end up cutting their paws on holidays. We did the same with Jock. The first holiday in Scotland, walking up in the mountains, he ran so much on the hills that he actually was sore for 2 days for the amount of running he's done. Used to nice grass, running on rocks can actually get them injured. And Jock, normally, if there's a dog that needs to get injured on a holiday, is Jock normally. So have some shoes. Buy some cheap shoes on Amazon that you can put on your dog, so that they, after you've done your bandages, because they cut themselves up, you can then put the shoes on so that they don't get, the bandages don't get wet and dirty. Yeah, we always have that when we go on holiday now. And then, of course, as I said, your first aid kit. Bring your dog chews to leave around in the house or to give to them. Don't forget the dog chews. And I think that's pretty much it, to be honest, of things to bring with you. Yes. Now, let's talk quickly about if you want to travel Europe or out to the UK. The pretty much only way you can do it is by a car. I wouldn't suggest, it's very difficult to do it by train, and pretty impossible to do it by plane, or not impossible, but complicated. So if you want to go travel out to the UK, travel by car, and you need to take your dog out on a temporary, so the passport is not a thing anymore for the UK, because we're not in Europe anymore. So we need a special vet certificate that says that the dog is healthy to travel. I don't remember exactly the name, but you'll find it as soon as you search on the DEFRA website. So if you want to find all the new regulation to travel with your dog outside of the UK, or if you're listening from outside of the UK and you want to come to the UK, in order to know what are the rules to get in and out of the UK, you have to go on the DEFRA website. So if you put DEFRA pet scheme, pet traveling scheme, you will be brought to the website where the role of regulations are, and you know exactly what you have to do. So if you want to travel into the UK from Europe, you've got your dog passport, and you need to have the rabies, as well as, I think now it's probably just the tablets, the worming tablets. They used to be, but it might have changed. I've not traveled since 2017 or 18. There used to be both the tick and fleece and the worming tablet, but I think it's probably just worming tablets. But if you're traveling out, we don't have passports anymore in the UK, so you need a certificate that some vets will release, and there will be a list, and you can ask your vet as well if they do it, or if they have someone to recommend. You have to do it a few days in advance before you leave. You can't just do it the day you're leaving. So you have to talk to your vet, making sure you're doing it the right time, and then I think it will have a 6 months duration. So you have to do it again after 6 months or something like that. So it doesn't last forever, unfortunately, and you have to pay every single time. You have to redo it. So the best way, I get asked a lot, is it better to travel with the ferry or is it better to travel with the shuttle by going to the tunnel, under the channel? I've done both ways. And the ferry is a bit cheaper, or it used to be a bit cheaper. But there are some, so if you're claustrophobic and you don't really want to be under the water and under the, in the tunnel where you can't see outside, of course you want to take the ferry. With the ferry, you have, unfortunately, to leave the dog in the car while you go up. It's not a big deal. Dog stays in their own car, and they will just stay in the crates. The problem is that if your dog is not in a crate, is in the car, they might panic seeing all the people walking around them, and there is definitely some noise of engine, the ferry engine and everything. If you have a dog that is a bit scared, if you have a dog that is a bit worried, I would definitely recommend doing the shuttle. With the shuttle, you arrive there, and you stay in your car. It just lasts 30 minutes. You don't see anything. It's like being in a train into a tunnel. Very big. It's huge. It's not small. It doesn't feel claustrophobic at all. You stay with your dog. Your dog is in the car with you. You can get out of the car. You can't get the dog out, but you can get out of the car and sit next to your dog if you want to. So you can support the dog if you think they're going to be a bit worried. You don't feel the movement. You don't hear much. There's still going to be people walking past because people get out and walk. They go to the toilet and everything, and people can't stand still. I normally just close my eyes and relax and listen to some music. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the shuttle. It's a bit more expensive, but it's quicker, and you just don't have to go anywhere. You just sit down in your car, have a rest, especially if you have a big drive ahead of you. And that's pretty much it. I think that's everything I've written down. I hope this has been useful and it will help you getting ready for your holidays, whether they're going to be summer, winter. Of course, if it's going to be winter, don't forget your dog coats, don't forget towels. Ooh, I forgot towels. Bring towels. If you're going in summer or winter, it doesn't matter. Bring towels because you'll need to wipe your dogs out. Not out again. Wipe your dogs clean before getting them back into the property that you're renting. So yeah, make sure that you don't forget towels. That's it for today. And let me know if this was useful. Come and visit my social media. I'm trying to always grow them. So if you're listening to my podcast but you've not joined me on social media, please come and say hi on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook. And as always, if you need help with your border collies and you need to reach out to me, send me a message, send me an email. Don't comment on this because I never check this. Just reach out to me on my website, that'lldoacademy.com. Send me an email at info@that'lldoacademy.com, or come and send me a message on Instagram. You find me on Border Collie Geek. And reach out to me. I work online. I work face to face. I have an online academy. If you're a new listener, you might not know this. We're finishing recall training, and then I'm going to let my members decide what they want to work on next. Could be hill work, could be distance control, could be emergency downs. We're going to be doing a winter module, autumn winter module, with something to do more indoor when the weather turns bad. So if that's something you might need, I think I'm going to finish, which I never started, but I have to finish a advanced tricks training module. We have a bronze, which is the first level. I'm going to do a silver level, which is the next level up of tricks that are a bit more complicated. So if you want to just progress your tricks training, the Collie Club is the place for you. It's not just about working on difficult behaviors. You might just have a puppy, you might just have a young dog, you might just need some organization in your training, or know what to prioritize and know how to train the basic stuff. the Collie Club is for everyone. It's not just for problematic dogs. It's just a nice community of people that support each other. So it's a great place to be. I just love my members. Have a nice week, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.